offer.
Our friend Steven Crowder has launched a new initiative called Stop Big Con. And in the video announcing the launch of the project, he talked about leaving the blaze and all the different offers that he fielded from other conservative organizations.
Yes, Brett
and what he
Cooper
thought
is a
were the
part
real
of this.
problems with those offers. And that's led a lot of people to speculate about whether or not the DailyWire is one of the people who made him an offer. In particular, are we the ones who made the offer that he put up on the screen and talked about at length? And the answer is yes, that offer did come from the DailyWire. I'm not trying to hide that fact. I'm not ashamed of that fact. In fact, I think it's a very good.
Everyone is a liberal. Everyone in the United States of America in 2023 is a liberal. And there is no better representation of that undeniable fact than the fucking DailyWire offices. Look behind this man and tell me that this is not the gayest office space you've seen. This is the exact same as the Young Turks. Okay? This is just, that's it. Everyone does the same shit. I can tell you with a certainty what kind of snacks they offer in their fucking kitchen that they have. Every single office looks like this. Down to the fucking trees, dude. You know they got motherfucking peanut butter filled pretzels in there, okay? And you never can get them because someone keeps hoarding them. They come in early and they steal all of them, and then you never get to have some. But you know they have it. You've seen it. You've heard rumors about it.
Good offer. But I think there's a lot of sort of misconceptions about the nature of the offer, the nature of the points. I think Steven misunderstood a lot of the points. And so the way we do here at the Daily Wire, we're just going to be incredibly transparent. You know that we like to have our members be a part of the journey. We live stream all of our company town halls, for example. We just find that sunlight sometimes is the best disinfectant. And so with that in mind, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we came to be in conversations with Steven, how those conversations ended, and walk you just line by line through what the actual document that we sent over to him, a non-binding term sheet, what it actually said and why. First thing you should know is that I'm really miserable to be making this video. Steven's been my friend for 10 years. I think he's maybe the most talented person working in the conservative media space. He's one of the top entertainers in the country, politics notwithstanding, a great.
I love that. Like, I think that demonstrates exactly the bar that you need to clear to be a conservative commentator. Like, they think Steven Crowder is a talented entertainer. That's it. There is no bar. You just have to do like race jokes from like 1994. You have to behave like a stunted child. Motherfucker made him seem like a great comic.
Comic voice. And I find it really tragic that we're having this kind of a conversation. But it's also very important, I think, that we talk about it, in particular because I know a lot of people who are fans of the Daily Wire were really offended by the things that Steven said in the video, and they're concerned that maybe we're doing the wrong thing. And I think that by the time we finish this video,
Twitch doesn't fucking
you'll
break while I'm
understand what we're
covering this
thinking
story.
with our term sheet and how we operate as a business a little bit better. I've wanted to be in business with Steven since the day that I met him. Ben and I tried to do some even movie deals with Steven before there was CRTV and before there was a Daily Wire. For that entire time, we've talked at length at various times about getting together and doing things. Of course, for most of that time, he's been under contract, first at CRTV and then at the Blaze. So we weren't able to. And from time to time during the years, we would get together and daydream a little bit about would there be a future for us to work together at the other end of that deal. We got word that Steven was finishing up his time at the Blaze and was interested in having a conversation with us. And so we reached out to his agent and we said, listen, we'd love to have a conversation. It's not every day that a monster talent like Steven comes on the market. We'd be bad businessmen if we didn't engage in a conversation with him. We weren't sure at that time if there was a deal to be had. I mean, for one thing, we're friends with Glenn, we're friends with Tyler, we're friends with all the guys at the Blaze. We weren't sure that we wanted to commit to making an offer to Steven. And Steven's an expensive talent. I mean, he's been in the business a long time. He has an enormous fan base, and we knew that it would take a lot of doing to get him over to the Daily Wire. This at the same time that we're investing very heavily in kids entertainment content and making real television content, streaming scripted fiction like the Pendragon Cycle and Atlas Shrugged and other projects that we've taken on? Would we have the resources?
They're doing a really good job making Steven Crowder look like an absolute fucking bitch, by the way. Like, not only is the contract number, regardless, first of all, as someone in entertainment, I have to, again, I can't get over this fucking number, but like, as someone who's in entertainment, Steven Crowder as an entity does not deserve that level of wealth. It's just like, or what's a better way to mention this? It's not that he doesn't deserve that level of wealth, but like, he's not generating that, okay? He's not generating that for his company. He's not generating that for himself, and he's not generating that for any company that he works for. $12.5 million a year is crazy, okay? Obviously, he deserves way worse shit, but I mean, like, as far as like your output, because like ultimately you might not agree with him, you might not agree with me, but there's a level of wealth that I'm generating for a company that I'm working for, which is reflected in the salary, right? It's like basketball players. Like, that doesn't make sense from a pure ROI perspective. The notion that he's getting $12.5 million a year does not make sense. Okay? You're not getting a return on that investment. You're just not. If they say swap from left to right and we'll give you 50 million, you doing it, this is such a funny fucking take because I've addressed it so many times. Not that it matters because people will never believe me, but of course not. I make a shitload of money. The amount of money I make now versus $50 million over the course of 4 years is literally not going to improve my life. I don't need it. It's not going to improve my life in any meaningful capacity. All the while, I just turn around and do something that I don't believe in, and that would suck. Okay? So why? The amount of subscribers I have is what also keeps me fucking honest. I don't need to do any of that. There is no difference with the amount of money for my life and my and the way I live and the way I exist. The difference between what I make now versus that level of money is not going to change my life. Because what the fuck? I don't, if I want to fly somewhere, if I want to take time off, and if I want to fucking fly somewhere right now, I could do that. You know what I mean? But I don't want to do that. I love what I do. The fuck am I going to do? Let's you be honest. You could always add corruption to it. I mean, it's just, I'm saying that, like, all things considered, asking someone who is broke, asking someone who's poor, whether they would take a $50 million contract to be like a right-wing shithead is very different than asking me. Because I understand if you're fucking starving, if you're suffering, I understand why you would easily take on unimaginable life-changing amounts of money. That amount of money is not going to change my life, not because it's like not significantly more than what I make now. It is, but it's not going to change my life because once you get to a certain point of money, your life is not going to dramatically change. Do you get it? I totally understand. I totally understand why someone would not even think about it twice, though. You know, if you're fucking stuck at a job that's paying you 38 grand a goddamn year and you get to sit on your ass and talk shit, you'll learn how to be racist real quick, even if you're not. You know what I mean? I'm the brokest, and no, some of us like you have integrity. I mean, that could be your, yeah. I mean, some people will have that. For sure. Anyway, let's continue.
Sources, we weren't sure. But again, you have to have the conversation, and we were happy to have it. So we reach out to the agent, and we say that. We say, we'd like to have a conversation with Steven, kind of get into the details of, what's he looking for? What's he looking for financially? What's he looking for in terms of structure? What would make his life better? What would make him happy? He's got this opportunity now to have a next chapter. What's he want that next chapter to be? And Stephen's agent candidly just wasn't interested in any aspect of that conversation. He only wanted to know about the money. He said, we're not going to have a conversation. We're not going to have some abstract talk. We're going to send us an offer. Tell us how much money you're willing to pay. And he gave us an indication of what the minimum number would have to be in order to even have a discussion with Stephen. And it's a big number. So we talked about it internally, and we decided, yeah, we should do that. We should send over an opening offer, a non-binding term sheet that takes a stab at what we think that minimum number is going to be to get the conversation started so that we can sit down with Stephen.
That minimum number was $50 million over the course of 4 years, which means $12.5 million a year. That's the starting. That's the other part of this conversation that we're forgetting. That is the starting point for their negotiations. That is, I'm sorry, that's unacceptably high, dude. Like, for someone like Steven Crowder, it makes no sense, dude. It makes no sense. Do you motherfuckers not have a salary cap out here? What the hell's going on? That's crazy, dog. Like, this dude, like, I'll tell you like this. That is an insane deal for someone like myself, okay? And my output is infinitely larger than Steven Crowder. No matter, like, I'm not glazing myself up, okay? I'm just telling you factually correct statements, okay? As far as, like, how many view counts, like, how much value I could generate potentially for a company, that's literally not true. Oh, it's just literally true. Exactly. It is. It's just true. It's objectively true. Okay? Also, on top of that, I'm running a one-man operation for the most part, obviously, and that also the one-man operation in of itself is like running for 8 fucking hours every day. You know what I mean? This is the main thing. Steven Crowder's working 4 days a week. Like, there's so much more to it, right? There's so much more to it on top of that, but like, regardless, when you look at it, if I was like a media company, if HasanAbi was a media company in and of itself, its output and its revenue generation abilities and its overarching reach as a media company is significantly higher than Steven Crowder. It's just true. And that contract as a starting point is unimaginable. Unimaginable.
And so that we can see if there's a deal that'd be good for him and good for us. And that's what we did. We put together the term sheet, we sent it over, and we asked if we could get on the phone and have a conversation with Stephen. I'm going to walk you through
Jealousy's
that
a
document,
disease,
what it says, what it doesn't say.
I don't
some
give a
of how
shit.
Stephen
I already know that these motherfuckers make so much more money. Come on. I talk about it all the goddamn time.
represented it. I'm sure he feels like he was being accurate, but some of the things that he said are simply not true based on the text. And you know, Stephen's a very passionate guy. I think that he's doing his level best to stand against what he sees as an injustice, but there is no injustice in this document, as I think you'll see. And then I'll tell you what happened right after we sent the document, when I finally did get on the phone with Stephen. So first, here's the document, the non-binding confidential term sheet. I'm just going to walk you through.
I just want to point something out. Again, Steven Crowder works 4 days a week. So that's like totaling what? 8 hours a week for $50 million?
Sets forth the basic deal points of a proposed content production and distribution agreement between the DailyWire, LLC, a Texas limited liability company, and Steven Crowder via his loan out. So that if and when the parties elect to move forward with a long-form...
Oh my God, this motherfucker goes, but half of it is Valo. That's it. That's it. That's the comment. We're going to go back to this one day. Snails be fast is the reason why I turned heel and I became a conservative grifter. That's it. It's over for you fools, okay?
Agreement, they can move quickly in preparing a definitive and binding agreement. That's just legalese. That means this is just a conversation starter, and we're obviously going to have a negotiation if we move forward, and a lot of these points are going to get beat up. And for those of you who've never been through a contract negotiation, well, that's how it works. When you send someone an offer, you don't send them everything that you're willing to say yes to, because there is going to be...
Thank you, Sasha Green, Spider Queen, for correcting the record. When this fucking idiot says, Hasan Malding, stop Malding. This is such a well oiled motherfucking machine. It's crazy.
Be a negotiation because agents and lawyers are going to get involved because you can't read their mind. You don't know everything that will be important to them and everything that they'll want. You don't know even, some of their sort of non-negotiable points. And so you send over a loose offer, and then they're going to beat it up a little bit. They're going to say, well, this should be higher and this should be lower. And you're going to come back and say, no, we're going to stand firm here, but we're willing to compromise there. And over time, you either get to a deal or you don't get to a deal. But that's how a good faith negotiation always works. 100% of every interaction I've ever had with any talent, that's the process. And so here we go. Here was our offer. A 4-year initial term with 2-year renewal at DW's sole discretion. That just means Steven's going to work for DW for 4 years.
Yeah, no, this is half of its value, by the way. This in the mind of a news fan, this needs to be half of its size for them to still say they'll still say that's half of its value. Yeah. Like, there's motherfuckers in here being like, so a quarter of its value? Okay, that's half the fucking size of what you thought. We're not doing this right now.
And if it's going really well, DW can retain him for an additional 2 years. 2, the fee. And remember, this is the minimum number that we thought would get the conversation started with Steven. $50 million for the initial term, plus $25 million for the renewal term, if extended, paid in monthly installments. Like I say, a pretty big number.
Wait. 4-year initial term with 2-year renewal at DW's sole discretion.
Extended,
okay.
Paid in monthly installments. Like I say, a pretty big number, but we thought for a talent like Steven, this is probably the minimum number that's going to get us in the door so that we can sit down and talk to him. 3, production costs. This is important. We've never made a deal quite like the offer that we put in front of Steven because Steven, very independent guy. I mean, all of our talent have very independent voices. Obviously, we can't tell him what to say. Candace says what she wants, and Jordan Peterson.
And sometimes it lands us in trouble because she's routinely saying anti-Semitic shit.
Says what he wants, Ben, Michael. But Steven has always built in this protection for himself that he wants to actually produce his content. He doesn't want, most of our guys, they come to the studio and we turn on the cameras. We point the cameras, we point the lights. Steven likes to do that with his own team to just make doubly sure that no one's interfering with his content, not that we would. And so we anticipated that and we said, Crowder will bear the burden of production, including all costs associated therewith, on all the content contemplated herein, except on the quarterly and annual content contemplated below. We'll get to that part a little bit later. It's kind of a novel concept. The quality of the production will be as good as or better than is currently existing content. This just, again, Steven's going to produce his own content. It has to be as good as the stuff that Steven's audience has come to expect from him, and that'll come out of the $50 million. So it's not like all of that $50 million goes right in Steven's pocket. He's going to use some of it to pay for.
Wait, what? I don't want to do this. 3 minutes ago, it was never about the money. Here's the proof. www.stopbigcon. Ooh, drama. Yo, this is fire, dude. Ooh, the Chuds are fighting each other. I love it. Let them fight.
Producers and studio space and camera equipment and operators and lights, just like we're going to use some of the money that we make to pay for the infrastructure and the technology and the marketing and the legal and all the other parts that go into making a successful business. Revenue collection that says we'll have the exclusive right to realize revenue in connection with all of his content and brand. We're paying you this guaranteed significant amount of money, $50 million. And for that, one of the things we're buying is the content, but we're also buying the right to monetize the content so that we can have a chance of making some money and not just spending money. What is the content? First, we broke this into daily, monthly, quarterly, and annual content. The daily content is going to be very obvious to you. He'll deliver a 1.5 hour Louder with Crowder audio video show of a quality and kind consistent with the shows that he's currently producing 4 days a week. That's 192 original episodes a year if you factor in 4 weeks of vacation, including all ad reads and promotions as requested by us. So he's going to continue to produce his show, his Louder with Crowder show, 4 days a week, 192 times a year. And that'll include us being able to put ads in it and promotions in it. They'll be filmed in studio daily, Monday through Thursday. At least 1 hour of them will be outside the paywall.
It's going to be really funny when my joke was it was actually the truth. And that, like, this literally is about the racism clause. Like, Steven Crowder should be allowed to be racist and get banned and not withstand any kind of scrutiny from the company. That's awesome. That's a 6-hour work week. I'm going to fucking lose my mind. Holy shit, this motherfucker turned down 6 hours. $12.5 million for 6 hours of work. Brother, even Anderson Cooper works harder than that. What the fuck?
That's much how Steven already operates. That's the part that goes out on podcasting. It's the part that goes out on YouTube. It's the part that goes out on Rumble. And at least 30 minutes inside the DW Plus paywall. So in the same way that right now he has his Piss Off YouTube segment that has historically been at Blaze, well, he would still do that same kind of concept. 30 minutes of the show would now be behind our paywall. Crowder can bank or pre-record a limited number of episodes upon our approval and reasonable discretion. Days without new original episodes will be scheduled in advance, subject to our reasonable approval. What's this about? Well, a guy like Crowder, you know, in addition to his 4 weeks of vacation.
One thing I have to mention is that, like, Crowder, and this is like super common in the conservative media sphere, is getting the homie hookup. Okay? So for a lot of people who are saying, like, oh, he blew the bag, remember that this is not his true value. This is 100 million % the homie hookup. A lot of conservative media runs on this mentality. Okay? Because they have, like, seemingly an endless pool of funds, not just from, like, rich assholes with disposable income that are willing to buy every ugly mug and t-shirt that you shill their way, but like, as I talked about on the Leftovers podcast, like, the Federalist as a newspaper is like a famous example of this. Like, it's basically funded by dark money. Nobody knows. And we know for a fact, like, the things that we can manage, the things that we can look at, like their output, like their eyeballs, that does not justify having, like, a legitimate newspaper, you know what I mean, in circulation. So there is definitely this, like, weird disparity, but people still make, like, 100K, 200K, 300K a year to write, like, op-eds about how sissy hypno should be banned and abolished, you know what I mean? Like, and they can do that. They can get away with it because they just have, you know, a lot of rich people who understand the value of propaganda and will fund it, okay? They have an endless pool of funds and wealth, and they are willing and able to dump it.
There's just also going to be times where he, for whatever reason, maybe he's got a speech, maybe he's got a stand-up comedy gig somewhere around the country. If he were to come to us and say, hey, I can't really shoot a show on Thursday because I'm going to be doing this stand-up gig, that's fine. Let's shoot 2 episodes on Tuesday and we'll roll one of them out on Thursday. It's just giving us all the maximum flexibility to still make the episodes, but for Steven to be able to live the other important.
Yeah, but isn't that like for both sides of politics? Brother, if you're in here, even by accident or deliberately in here, there is no both sides in politics. Like, liberal media, mainstream media, with the exception of Fox News, is, like, still fairly right-wing, and they have a lot of funds. Right-wing media, that is both Fox News and also independent right-wing media, is, again, also hit with the money gun for some reason, money cannon. But if you're talking about someone like myself, okay, or other left-wing institutions, outlets, Jacobin Magazine being one that I can think of immediately, the New Republic has, like, you know, they have some, I think they have, like, VC funding, the Young Turks, Democracy Now!, a lot of these outlets, and even myself, if you want to think about myself as, like, an outlet, Navarra, The Intercept is billionaire funded, so it's a little bit different. But the Intercept is like one of the few instances that like a billionaire was like, I want to make a fucking newspaper that's like kind of libertarian. And but basically all of these outlets are completely funded by grassroots. Democracy Now! Is based. No, I love Democracy Now! These are grassroots funded outlets that have to stay green for the sake of survival. A lot of these other companies do not have that. They don't need to. They don't need to have like serious output. Chapo Trap House is another example of this. Like, obviously our overhead is low in comparison to some of these like major productions, but you have to remember Sam Cedar, Majority Report with Sam Cedar, Breaking Points, like these are places that like have to have funds coming in from fans. That's it. According to Google, Steven Crowder has double your viewership. I don't like him, by the way, but doesn't that contradict your statements? What did you Google to find this this number? Because it is not true. Straight up your names and viewership? What? I showed it already. Whether it be Google Trends, whether it be like actual numbers on YouTube, a valid site, my numbers are larger than Steven Crowder's, which is fine. I mean, he has more subscribers than I do. That's definitely one thing. But I don't know what you did here, but it's not correct. You probably looked at YouTube subs, or you looked at like fake Rumble botted views or something, and you came to that conclusion, I assume. I suspect.
Important parts of his life. 192 episodes. Obviously, there are 260 work days in a year. Most Americans work 260 days a year minus 10. That's 2 weeks of vacation. So they work about 250 work days a year. And we're telling Steven, you've got to produce 192. So already, even to say 4 weeks of vacation, that is probably above average, but it doesn't really capture the reality of this, which is there are going to be, 60 days basically of the year where Fridays, we call them, where Steven basically doesn't have to produce a show. And you may say, well, that's still a lot. And I know Steven says that's more than even, network TV would ask for. Yeah, these are points that can be negotiated. I still think most people feel like, if you're only working 4 days a week and you get 4 weeks off every year and you can pre-schedule even additional time to be traveling by banking episodes, you would at least say, you may think, well, he needed to negotiate that and get it down to 170 or something. Sure, I thought he would. But it's certainly not unfair to expect someone that is making $50 million.
It's so funny, dude. This is such a hilarious take, man. What are we talking about, brother? 1.5 hours every day, 4 days a week for $50 million? That's insane. Like, what? What are you saying? Like, he's like, come on, it's not unfair. Like, yeah, no shit, bro. No fucking shit, that's not unfair. What? What? I'm losing my mind.
Over the next 4 years to, work 192 days a year.
But yeah, you're right. He's getting $50 million over the course of 4 years, $12.5 million a year. By that same metric, like the amount of hours I put in, what's my fucking worth then? $1 billion? Like, how much should I be making? What the fuck?
That brings us to monthly content. What is monthly content? Well, at DailyWire, our members are entitled to an all-access once a month with most of our talent. And that's where our members get to interact with them, sort of one-on-one, ask them questions. So we're saying once a month he would have to do a 90-minute all-access and any promotions and ad reads that would go in that. Right now there are no ad reads in all access, but again, you're giving yourself, it's a possibly 6-year deal, you're giving yourself a little latitude for things to change. Quarterly content, we asked that Stephen would produce one major promo video and photo shoot coordinated by us for his content at the company. We would want him to 4 times a year come in and make a very well-produced promo, that gives us marketing assets to be able to go out and sell subscriptions, sell Mug Club, sell any merch that we were doing with him, sell the entire idea of DW Plus, and one backstage episode a quarter or other major live event and VIP experience. So, and annual content. This was a new concept. We said that Stephen would do one feature-length entertainment special. That's like a stand-up comedy special. And that Stephen would do one feature-length political special. And that's like a documentary like What is a Woman? This is something we're doing with all of our talent now. You saw it first with What is a Woman with Matt. Then in addition to his daily show, he brought us this amazing documentary.
Oh, so amazing. I'm losing it. Okay. Ad reads, promo reads, all this stuff is like boring. Adaptation rights, stuff like that.
So those channels have to belong to us.
I want to get to the racism clause.
Episodes a year. You got to produce 192 episodes a year. You contemplate it a little bit later. What happens if there's a disability? In fact, we'll just skip right to it. It's item E. In the event of temporary disability or serious illness that prevents Crowder from performing, the fee will be reduced on a pro rata basis, not subject to the fee reduction mentioned above. What does that mean? Well, instead of a sort of punitive fee because he's choosing not to do the right thing, in that situation, you'll just reduce it by dividing the total amount of money contemplated by the number of episodes, just subtract that, which I think is, again, incredibly fair. If you're being paid $1 for every box you deliver 10 boxes, you get $10. If you deliver 9 boxes, you get $9. That's a different concept than if you just choose not to deliver it, in which case we're going to subtract a little bit extra. And again, you pay somebody $50 million, you should get the work.
Even getting paid $12.5 million for 6 hours a week to bully trans people and teens who are working 40 hours a week for $350 a week. Yeah. Just remember that there is no God, there is no karmic justice, there is no meritocracy, and there is no justice in general, okay? That statement in and of itself is proof of this. This motherfucker screams about like queer Starbucks workers wanting Starbucks to hire more fucking employees so they can like take care of the thousands of people that come in through the door faster. And he makes fun of them while he's doing this. Fuck.
Monthly and quarterly content. Well, this is more valuable content and there's less of it, so the fee is higher, $250,000 if he misses that kind of content.
Oh, this guy's still going. All the data, no matter what you compare, shows Kreider at higher viewership. Argue it's fake or not, but a couple searches on Google shows a large difference. Maybe Hasan's numbers are not accurate, but I'm going off the numbers I can see. Brother, all you need to do is look at Social Blade on Steven Crowder's Social Blade versus mine. Like, that's it. Like, what numbers are you? This motherfucker keeps saying Google. Like, he just doesn't say where it's coming from or what it is. You just Google Hasan Piker viewership shows you at 2.5 million and Steven Crowder viewership. Oh, you're too stupid. Okay, never mind. My bad. I literally thought that he was actually doing something. No, that's the most brilliant. I did my own research, Andy, in the chat right here. Holy fuck. Like, just go to Social Blade and look up like total accumulated viewership over the course of the 1 month. It's like super easy to fucking find. Yeah, my man literally looked at how many people follow me on Twitch and looked at how many people subscribe to Steven Crowder on YouTube, and he said, he's just so much bigger than you, dog. I don't understand. Maybe I'm not looking at the same thing. And said, I brought data to the table. What have you brought? You're just chirping.
Annual content. Well, this is the most important, most expensive content. If you were supposed to have done a complete documentary this year and you didn't deliver it, well, we're going to subtract $1 million because that's one of the most important high-value pieces of content that we asked you to make that year. And then D just says reset. The fee reduces each calendar year. So, every year you kind of start over. You start over fresh. That brings us to 13, reduction of fee from lost revenue or boycotts. Again, this is one of the points that Stephen really focused on. He says we're enforcers for big tech, that we're doing big tech's bidding, that we're punishing content creators if they run afoul of big tech. And first,
this is the main point of contention for Steven Crowder, in his own words, okay? Which is pretty funny.
First of all, that's just personally incredibly offensive. It's incredibly offensive to have your friend and ally in 10 years of fighting this fight alongside one another, coming up together, say that you're not sufficiently conservative, say that you're I think he said in the video that we're worse than the left, that we're doing harm to the conservative audience and harm to the country, that we're not sufficiently at odds with big tech. Obviously that's ridiculous. You'll see that it's ridiculous as we go through this and I explain it. It's absurd on its face. We get content strikes all the time. We get demonetized all the time. We get shadow banned all the time, just like all conservatives do.
That's just not true. Like, that is also untrue. Steven Crowder does get banned fairly regularly because he pushes boundaries that Ben Shapiro does not. Okay? But like DailyWire does not get fucking banned. Maybe like sometimes Matt Walsh gets banned because he's literally saying like you should murder trans people or whatever, you know what I mean? But other than that, DailyWire is not getting fucking banned regularly. They are the most popular outlet on Facebook, brother. What the fuck is he? He's just lying. And it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter because like there is this built-in attitude that has been successfully crafted by these fucking propagandists that the right is constantly under the oppressive thumb of big tech, which is all communists, okay? That victimhood attitude is so permanent, so ever-present that you cannot go against it. People just, you can show them objectively that that's not true. You can say, DailyWire is the most successful outlet on Facebook as far as media companies goes, like more successful than CNN. And people be like, nah, brother, that's not true. They deserve it. Even if it is true, they deserve it. They would be even bigger than that, actually, if they weren't being suppressed. It's bullshit. Made up.
Investing tens of millions of dollars every year into technology to try to create alternatives, that's a long-term project. No one has built anything. Rumble is not a true competitor to YouTube yet. I hope that they become one. But right now, YouTube has many billions of people use YouTube and many millions of people use Rumble. It's a long-term investment to build these alternatives. And DailyWire Plus is an alternative platform. But right now, we all still are dependent for getting our message out to have access to big tech and to monetize our content. We have to have access to big tech. That's where the audience is, and it's where the money is. It's also where Steven Crowder has made his entire name. He's the biggest conservative YouTube star of all time. He put out his video criticizing us in this contract as not being sufficiently conservative. The number one place people will view it is on YouTube.
I looked at your social media and your view rank is 33K and his is 5K and have more recent views. What? Bro, are you fucking stupid? This is all time. Steven Crowder has had a YouTube channel for years. He has like 6 million subs. Look at current monthly fucking YouTube views versus current. Stop! I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I can't do this. My audience is too fucking stupid. Like, just exercise just a little bit, dude. We already talked about it. We already covered it. And it's just like, literally, I'm losing my fucking mind here. Because, like, this is irrelevant to the point of the conversation now. We've moved on from it. But it, like, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You have no way of, like, exercising a critical piece of thought for once. Fuck! I'm so fucking disappointed sometimes with the chatters. And you come in here with the eminent confidence of someone who like brilliantly crunched the fucking numbers. Stop! Think on your own. Oh.
And that's not wrong. That's where people are. That's, of course they're going to watch it on YouTube. Of course he's going to put it out on YouTube. That's where the audience is. Now, Stephen might respond by saying, yes, but I don't make any money off of YouTube. I have been demonetized there. And that's a point that we'll talk about.
One sandwich, please. Thank you for the 10 of the subs. Circa 1980s. Thank you for the 5 of the subs.
Out here. Nevertheless, obviously, you and I and everyone else, when we go to YouTube to watch Steven Crowder,
I'm sorry. It's just like, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm popping off too hard. It's just like, I can't. Like, after I describe the same thing 700 fucking times, like, someone just comes into the chat and goes, oh my God, dude, you got it wrong, actually. Here is me demonstrating that I have no fucking critical thinking skills. Please take a look at this information that will prove you wrong. No, it won't prove you wrong, actually. It'll just prove my intellect individually. Oh my God. It's making me lose my fucking mind.
Crowder may be demonetized and he may not make any money. YouTube, though, still makes money off of us. And so in that way, Steven is still driving, he's still driving success for YouTube. It's unfortunate that YouTube has chosen to cut him out of participating in that success. In fact, I think YouTube is utterly wrong. The only time I've ever talked to the CEO of YouTube, it was to criticize her for her treatment of Steven Crowder. I didn't even talk to her about the Daily Wire. I had nothing to say at that moment about Daily Wire, but at that time they had demonetized Steven, and I used my one audience with one of the most powerful CEOs in the world to tell her that what she was doing to Steven Crowder was absolutely unethical and wrong. So what were we trying to accomplish with this section? Well, let's go through it. The reduction of fee from lost revenue from boycotts, content strikes, or bans from major social media platforms. Ad drop.
This is so funny. So this is, I think, the funniest part of this video. Why? Because he says to Susan Wojcicki in the one interaction that they have, what you're doing to Steven Crowder is fucked up. This contract is the exact same thing that he told Susan Wojcicki was fucked up. Brother, how do you not understand that YouTube as a private company wants to make sure that, like, they are still monetizable, that they are not having, like, you know, sponsors fucking drop because one of their main prominent conservative voices is a racist fucking asshat? You're doing the same thing in the contract. That is what is fucking hilarious about this. That's the fucking funny part about this entire contract.
If Crowder is boycotted or dropped by more than 50% of his then extant advertising partners, that is, if 50% of the money that he's making from advertisers is suddenly gone, and we're not able to replace that revenue within 90 days, then his fee will be reduced by 25% until such time as the ad revenue has been restored for a period of 90 days, and then it would all reset. Steven says, all the left does is boycott our advertisers, so this just says to the left, your boycotts work and we'll enforce it for you. We will punish the content creator for you. But this isn't about punishing the content creator. This is about if the Daily Wire is going to leverage, I can't stress it, probably $100 million by the time you have marketing and infrastructure costs, by the time you pay for all the legal compliance, all the technology that it takes to support Steven's show and Steven's show, even at the price that we offered for it, which he would have wanted much more, at least $100 million. Obviously, if the show makes dramatically less money, well, then Steven has to make less money because we're making less money. And I brought this up to Steven on the phone, and I said, Steven, if If we guarantee you $1 for your show.
This part is hilarious. You're hiring Steven Crowder to be a racist person. If your contract, if your expectation is for him to be racist, and then as a consequence of that, he gets banned, you're going to dock his pay? You hired him to be racist. That's the funniest part about this. He's like, they're like, dog, you got to be like marginally less racist. Like, you got to figure out the racism dial and just like crank it down a little bit. Because if you get banned, we will fuck you. Which I think is pretty funny. I made the comparison earlier. It's like, punishing. It's like docking Steph Curry for shooting 3-pointers. They're docking his pay. Like, that's what you hired him to do. That's his job. That's what he's supposed to do. And now, if he does it too well, you're going to fucking dock his pay. That's crazy.
And the show makes $1 in ad revenue and $1 in subscription revenue. Then how does the money work? Well, it works that $2 come in, you get your guaranteed $1, we get $1. What do we do? What do you do with your $1? Well, you produce your show and you pay yourself. What do we do with our $1? Well, we market your show, provide all the back-end infrastructure, pay for the 250 plus humans who work to make all of this continue to grow. By the way, we don't pay for one single person more than we need. There's no charity jobs. We're not giving our money away. If anything, we're understaffed by 50%. We ask more of our employees than any other company probably in America today. We drive people incredibly hard because our resources are limited, because we're trying to accomplish so much for our values, for our movement. So we pay for that out of our $1, and then we pay ourselves. But that's how it works. I said, if the next day one of the dollars, the ad $1, goes away, now what happens? Should it be that you said something on your show that caused that $1 to go away? Now you keep your $1 and we make $0? I said, that wouldn't make any sense. Obviously, you would have to lose a little and we would have to lose a little. I said, we're trying to sort of emulate the idea of a joint venture. And Steven said, no, you should lose all the money. It's your business. And I said, well, Steven, how would we have?
Yeah, he's like, I want a racism clause. That's it. That's literally it. He's like, dude, you're hiring me to do racism. I want a fucking racism clause. That's it.
Have a business. Why would we be in business? And how would we stay in business? And Steven, this is a very important point. Steven, again, I think the most entertaining, talented person in the conservative movement. I think one of the most entertaining and talented people in entertainment generally in the country today, has created a very successful content generation company, a very successful production company. But Steven's never had to create the company that actually distributes, markets, and monetizes all of that content. He talks in his video about being one of the only true independent conservative voices. And I find that incredibly offensive. Steven, the whole time I've known him, has worked for someone else, has been paid by someone else. That doesn't mean other people tell him what to say. He's a very independent voice, and that's good. So is Matt Walsh. So is Candace Owens. So is Ben Shapiro. So is Michael Knowles. So is Brett Cooper. But Steven, as much or more than any of them, a very independent voice. But he's not exactly a self-made man. That's not true. He was paid by PJTV when I met him, which was owned by a billionaire at the time. Then he was paid by...
Ooh! Cook him! Cook his ass, motherfucker! Cook his ass! Ooh! Ooh! He said other billionaires have been paying his fucking salary. Now it's our turn to fucking pay his billionaire ass salary.
By CRTV for a number of years, which was owned by a billionaire at the time. Then he was paid by The Blaze, which was subsidized by a billionaire, until...
By the way, this literally proves every single... Oh my God, I didn't see this part. This proves every single thing I've been saying. All of these right-wing institutions are funded by billionaires who see an endless amount of value in maintaining conservative, agitative propaganda. Ha! Every single time they talk about George Soros, they are fucking projecting. He just came out and admitted it. Fuck.
Tyler Carden, one of the real genius businessmen in our movement, turned the company around and made it profitable. During all of that time, Stephen drove a ton of revenue. He's incredibly valuable. I'm not suggesting that he wasn't driving value. He was. I'm only saying he didn't have to build all of that. He didn't have to think about it. And he didn't necessarily have to be profitable. And he doesn't know for a fact that he was profitable because
this is also true. Oh my God. Thank you, Mr. Boring. This is the least boring thing you've ever said. Oh, I love this. I love this so much. It's literally proving every single thing I've been saying. I will go back to this video in the future, whenever someone says, Hasan, you have no proof that like right-wing media operations don't have to be profitable and that they are subsidized by billionaires who value their racial agitative propaganda. This. There you go. There you go. I mean, yeah, it is depressing. It's so depressing. But also, it just kind of feels good that I was right. I'm sorry. I know I don't want to think about how fucking depressing that is. I don't want to think about what that says about like our current mode of existence. I don't want to think about how aggressively astroturfed right-wing propaganda is. But also, like, I mean, that is very sad. That is sad. Let's not think about that. Let's just think about how fucking good it is that I was right, okay? That's what I want to think about. I don't want to think about the other side of this and what that says, okay? Holy fuck. Yeah, I worked on the story for a year and he just tweeted it out.
Because, as he has said very publicly, all those companies, none of them really shared all the information about what was happening with them. So Stephen feels very certain that his show was always profitable, but he doesn't know that his show was profitable. And even if it was, what became of that profit? Most of that profit almost certainly was reinvested into growing the infrastructure and growing the technology and growing the marketing and growing the compliance. That's how business works. And if you're the DailyWire, we're a very successful company by conservative media standards. And we're a tiny fraction of the smallest legacy media company. If we're going to make one of the biggest investments we've ever made in talent, which is what we were offering Crowder here, an amount of money that puts all of our investments at risk. I mean, if it doesn't work, you're not going to be able to make that kids' entertainment content. You're not going to be able to make that those movies and TV shows. You're not going to be able to continue to do things like sue the federal government to stop the vax mandate. You're not going to be able to do things like...
Yeah, dude, so many sick things. Look at all the sick things that they're saying. Look at all the sick things that they get to do, man. Sue the federal government against vaccine mandates. Like, oh, fuck. Every time they post a dub, it's literally just like an L. Imagine fucking glazing someone this hard who spat in your face after you offered them essentially a no-show job worth $50 million. I mean, I think they're killing him with kindness here. They are unironically, in my opinion, dookie all over Steven Crowder. Like, I know that the right always cares about like who does the racism the best more than anything else. So like it's hard to like the right doesn't have the same issues that the left has with like, oh, that guy's a grifter. He's like fake. He's not, my spice of Marxist Leninist or whatever, right? But this is something that is so beyond the pale that I do think that people that see this video or people that hear about Steven Crowder turning down $50 million are going to just hear that number and go, oh, fuck that guy. Conservative media has always fallen in line to support other people succeeding so as to not rile up each other's fans. Yeah, but I think him glazing him in this circumstance is to show how fucking silly and insane Steven Crowder is. It won't end his career, don't misunderstand me. Pedophilia does not end the careers of right-wing media people or right-wing politicians, But this kind of kindness is deliberate. You are reifying the right so hard right now. This queen screen time done subjective take. Yeah, I mean, literally sex trafficking and being arrested for sex trafficking doesn't stop right-wing support. If you are a successful enough media figure, it's clear you're only saying you're correct. I'm correct. There's no other reason. It's just that I'm correct.
Deploy investigative journalists to Virginia where they uncover the Loudon story that changes the course of a gubernatorial election. All of that takes resources.
He's not riding Crowder. He's not dick riding Steven Crowder. He's actually effectively shitting on him by saying, we love you, look how much we offered you, and look how much of a petulant little fucking baby you are. Okay? That's what he's saying. Understand that. Yeah, this is, KO Fish is correct. My guy just said, bless your heart in an hour-long YouTube video. Yeah.
When you leverage 50, 60, 70, $100 million, you're taking an enormous risk. You're putting all of that at risk. You don't do it cavalierly. You do it because you believe, and I do, that Steven is worth it, that he's incredibly valuable. But it is still a huge risk. There's also a time factor. He might drive all that revenue, but what if it takes a year or even 18 months to bring over those Mug Club subscribers, to get those advertisers spending, right? Well, you're losing 8 figures a year in the interim while you're, or 7 figures a year in the interim while you're doing that. So you can't just say, we're going to pay you $50 million even if the show doesn't bring in any money. That's not punishment. First of all, $50 million minus 25% is not punishment by the standards of any human being in the world today, right? That's not punishment. That's just reality. He would still be being paid millions and millions of dollars, and we would be actively working with all those people that we're paying out of our cut to go find new advertisers to replace it, at which point he would be making his money again. Same with the content strike. If any major platform, YouTube, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, issues a content strike such that Crowder's content cannot be monetized on the platform, then again, there's this 90-day concept, and again, there's this 25% reduction. Now, Steven, when I spoke to him, he was very upset. He said, I've already been demonetized on YouTube. That's the kind of thing in a negotiation. You scratch through that with your red pen and you say, Steven's already been demonetized from YouTube, so we can't start the deal at minus 25. You have to already have anticipated that, and that would have been fine. That's just a very common. But if he were making a significant portion of his revenue on YouTube and he lost that revenue, it's not punishing him to say you will make less. We're all going to make less. The real punishment would be if we took all the hit, continued to pay him guaranteed money whether his show makes money or not, and then we lose the business as a result. And now no one pays Steven anything, and no one releases Steven's content. He has to go build it all from scratch in crisis. Ban. The Crowder content cannot be released on any of the major platforms because of his content being banned from those platforms. Then we'll reduce the fee if YouTube 20, if Apple 20, if Facebook 10, if Spotify 10. Same kind of concept. If the content simply cannot appear and therefore cannot not only be used for marketing, cannot be used to grow the brand, also can't be monetized, well, we can't pay him the same as if it was. If you're making 25% of your money on YouTube and now YouTube is permanently gone, you can't make that money anymore. It's not punishment. And this is really what it comes down to. Steven's philosophy seems to be, I deserve to be paid millions and millions and millions of dollars, whether my show drives the revenue or not. That's not a business relationship. He's not looking for a business relationship. He's looking for a benefactor. The Daily Wire is not a nonprofit. We aren't.
Yep. And that is the funniest part about this story, which is that he is looking for a benefactor because he's used to having benefactors, which is because every single right-wing outlet is sponsored by benefactors. That's why. That's his expectation. Okay? Unlike this show, which is sponsored by you, the people, sponsoring me at the top of the hour when there's a 3-minute ad break. When you don't want to watch a fucking 3-minute ad break and you subscribe for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime. Or if you don't have that, get gifted a sub if you're lucky. Because that is the 3 main methods of avoiding the ads at the top of the fucking hour. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. YOLO Asian, thank you for the 5 get the subs. Bread Theory, thank you for the 5 get the subs. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. Ooey Gooey, Rin Sumari, thank you for the 5 get the subs. Louis 525, thank you for the 10 get the subs. Silkos, thank you for the 5 get the subs.
Aren't benefactors. We're a business. We only get to eat what we kill. And, at the very beginning, we thought maybe we could do like a joint venture with Stephen where we have the same relationship. There's no guarantee
Miss
of money.
Melzy, thank you for the 5
money,
gifted.
he gets a cut. And if there's less money, he gets a cut. But we knew, no, Stephen, at his level, his history, his experience, he just needs a big guarantee. He's earned it. But we still have to replicate in the deal some measure of that shared responsibility. And that's all this was meant to accomplish. You say, well, it's the same in the end anyway, because you're still telling him, if you say something YouTube doesn't like, we're taking away your money. Well, no, if YouTube would be the one taking away the money. We're just saying that we can't bear the entire brunt of that. But it's even, I think what Stephen's suggesting here is kind of even more disingenuous than that, because I actually kind of came up with this whole concept by watching Steven Crowder. I mean, I mentioned it before. Stephen created this idea of Piss Off YouTube segment at Mug Club. And I saw it and thought it was genius. What does it mean? It means...
Yeah, it's genius. Like, as in, how can we get super racist with it, right? It's genius because it's like opening up another funding mechanism. Every time he gets banned, he makes money. If you recognize that, because that is what this is, okay? For those of you who don't understand, let me tell you what is going on. Let me read between the lines for you real quick. He paywalls racism because every time he gets banned, he can then, he gets media coverage over his ban, and then he can like move people to a more sustainable form of revenue, the Mug Club, right? That is literally a part of his funding mechanism. That's how he makes money. So now these guys are hiring him because that's brilliant and genius, like doing racist content explicitly so you can get banned, so you can generate more revenue elsewhere. And then they say, but we're gonna shut off your fucking your money funds. That's it. You're recognizing the brilliance behind his ways of generating more revenue by becoming increasingly more racist, so he definitely gets banned. And then you're saying we're going to not give you money if you get banned. It's the racism clause.
Stephen can go on YouTube, speak to a huge audience. In fact, most of his audience, that's where they engage with him, right? The subscribers are a very small percentage of Stephen's audience. Mug Club is a very small percentage of his audience. YouTube is the vast, overwhelming majority of Stephen's audience. He can go on there, and he can be risque, and he can do what he wants to do, but he can be calculated too, and he can say, there are some things that I simply...
Oh my God. He literally said, use dog whistles to drive the audience. Oh my God. Calculate your racism. Why are they saying it openly? Jesus fucking Christ. He's saying, dude, dial back the racism. Just don't get banned, you fucking idiot. Oh my God, he's admitting everything. Did they think no one was going to see this? What is happening? Why did they release this as is?
Simply can't say here because these bastards hate free speech. For those things, come over to Mug Club and become a subscriber. And then for 30 minutes a day at the Blaze, he could say whatever he wanted. And I thought that was a genius thing, and I implemented it at DailyWire because I was inspired by Stephen, who, again, very talented guy, very smart guy. This is just
saying Steven Crowder was very talented at racism, which is why we wanted to hire him. But, you should dial the racism back. Because if it get banned, then you limit your reach, and that's pissing us off.
Just meant to say the same thing. Hey, I want you to be thoughtful about what you say on the free part of the show. Doesn't mean I want you to say things that aren't true. Doesn't mean I want you to say things you don't believe. Doesn't mean I want you to bend the knee to big tech. What it means is, I want you to preserve the revenue as best you can, preserve the audience as best you can, and then tell people there's a reason we're building these multi-million dollar platforms. There's a reason we have subscribers. It's so that there is a place where they can't take our voice away. They can't tell us what to say. So what should he do? He should go on YouTube. He should talk about the things that he talks about. And then he should say, listen, there's some new study came out about the COVID vaccine, and I want to talk about it, but these bastards at YouTube won't.
Bro, I fucking love this. I love this so much. It's like I've spent years and years and years screaming from mountaintops, talking about how the conservative media apparatus is 100% funded by shadow billionaires who just love their racism. I've spent so much fucking time yelling about how like they literally just use dog whistles and paywall racist content, and like they're this is their bread and butter, is just like being racist. And this guy just goes ahead and in a 52-minute video admits all of it. And he's just like fucking proud of it too. He's just like, yeah, what are you going to do, bitch? We make $100 million a year.
Won't let me. Come over to Mug Club at DailyWire Plus. Go over there and talk about it. And in that way, we keep growing his brand, bigger and bigger audience, more and more people.
Ethan didn't even believe me earlier when I was talking about it.
Revenue opportunities, and Stephen is free to say the things that he wants to see. I don't know why when he read this, he couldn't see that. I don't know why when we talked about it after the fact, and he was very upset with me, he couldn't see it. But I find it deeply offensive that he won't give me the benefit of the doubt, and even more offensive that he felt that he needed to air our disagreement about this section publicly. Stephen's my friend. He's my ally. It's just a low move. And I'm sure he thinks he's standing on principle. The problem is, you might even think that, first of all, friendship is a principle. You might think, yeah, but some things have to be more important in the public space than friendship. I don't know if that's true, but let's say that it is true. You have to be right if you're going to burn one of your friends the way that Stephen burned us. And Stephen is wrong. I am not an enforcer for big tech. I am trying to maximize the reach and revenue of my hosts and my company, because no company spends more money than the Daily Wire directly marketing its talent. We spend tens of millions of dollars every year helping our talent grow, marketing our talent with real dollars. We spend tens of millions more building technology, tens of millions more on staff and support, building expertise.
What are they building? Like technology to be like a new type of blackface? Like what is the technology that they're building? We spend tens of millions of dollars a year on a new type of blackface, okay? We go in like Indiana Jones to ancient ruins to find antiquated racial terminology from a time that predates writing, okay? We go in and look at hieroglyphics and cave paintings to figure out new ways of being racist. And you are out here undermining that effort, Stephen. That's fucked up. We're out here, we have a cryptid division, you know?
So that we can, over time, build a completely parallel system, a completely parallel economy. That is not a day's work. That is a generation's work. That is the work that we are engaged in. That's why we've had so many successes. You have been with us for so many of those successes. And I feel like Crowder really threw us under the bus and cheapened that and discredited all of it in saying that we're enforcers.
It's so fucked up that Steven Crowder is undermining generational work, like finding new slurs against like a queer Starbucks barista. You know what I mean? Like, how can I make the minimum wage employee who is like about to kill themselves from all of the work that they have to put on every goddamn day of their lives, how can I make that person be the villain of the story? You know how much R&D that requires, dude?
For the very people who hate us, the very people who shadow ban us and demonetize us and give content strikes against us all the time, when all we're saying is, no, let's be smart about how we fight them. The rest of this document, you're welcome to read it. It's just legalese. And what it says is, if we decide to move forward, this isn't the whole document. We're going to have a longer document. We're going to have to negotiate these topics. Confidentiality. We're not going to tell people about the deal. He didn't sign this, so he doesn't have those confidentiality requirements, although I certainly expected some political or, I guess, personal and professional courtesy of him not going and reaming us publicly for making him an offer that he didn't like. I don't owe Stephen a job, and Stephen doesn't owe me a show. We opened up a conversation in good faith. We made an offer. He didn't like it. Now he's burning us. That brings me actually to what happened after. I sent this over. I did get on the phone with Stephen. Normally, this is the stage where you say, I like this, I don't like that, red line, red line, red line, and we move closer together. Instead, Stephen said, I'm not going to redline this. Not going to have my agent respond. This deal is garbage. You need to start completely over. I said, well, I'd like to talk through why we do it. And he listened for a little bit, and he said, well, you're just wrong. You don't know anything about business. My business model is the right business model. And of course, that's unfair because Stephen hasn't run this part of a business before. Stephen likes to say, I'm only on the air because of Mug Club. But Stephen couldn't tell me how many subscribers he had. I said, how many subscribers do you have at the place? He said, I don't know. They don't tell me. And I'm sure.
Ooh, read him to filth, Queen. Let's go. Marx's mistress. This story is too similar to Arizona workers' compensation laws I'm currently trying to get overturned. Most states only compensate injured workers 50 to 70% of their salary wage when they should receive 100% of their paycheck since it's not their fault they got hurt. Same thing. It is not Crowder's fault for being racist since that's literally what they hired him to do. In parentheses, injured workers, please message me if you need help. Yeah. From a labor rights point of view, you're hiring the guy to do digital blackface, minstrel shows, and, you know, find new ways of just like undermining trans teenagers or whatever and like trying to get them to commit suicide. And then you're getting mad when he is getting banned as a consequence of that. Like, you can't.
Sure, that's true. He said, but I'm confident. I guarantee you it'll be $350,000 on day one.
By the way, this is why I love this community, okay? People like Marx's mistress and many others in this community that play a very important role in making sure that labor rights to some degree are protected in this country, which has an open disdain for it, okay? That's what makes it worth it, okay?
I hope that's true. But I can't take that risk.
What did you say?
I guarantee you it'll be $350,000 on day one with no marketing. I hope that's true. But I can't take that risk. I've never seen that to be true. I've never launched any talent with $0 spent on marketing and picked up a third of the total subscribers that the entire Daily Wire has built in 8 years in business.
Yeah. I love this so much. It's so good.
I hope Stephen's right. I hope he makes unseemly amounts of money and is able to continue being an important voice in the movement for years and years to come. But that's not a risk that I could take. Stephen implied that he not only didn't like this $12.5 million a year number that I offered him, but that he thought it should be closer to $30 million a year. That's $120 million over 4 years just for Stephen's show. I would still have to spend those tens of millions of dollars every year that I told you about on things like marketing and infrastructure and technology to support the show, the part that Stephen...
What? Bro, what planet? What fucking planet? Bro, there's no shot. There's no fucking shot. Steven Crowder is generating anywhere near that much money, that much revenue. I'm sorry. I don't believe it, but I also simultaneously don't want to believe it, okay? Society has fucking collapsed. If Steven Crowder as a media entity is generating $30 million a fucking year on his own, okay, on his own media venture, when he's getting literally a fraction of the views I'm getting. What the fuck is happening, dude? Says you. What are you? Oh, God. Oh, my God. I'm losing it. I'm losing it. People literally think I make that kind of money. And it's beautiful and wonderful that you think I deserve that kind of money. Okay, but like, that's crazy. I don't understand what. First of all, it's hilarious that he doesn't know how many fucking Mug Club subscribers he has, which I think he was just lying. And the reason why he was lying is because he's just very stupid. And because if he did have that kind of, if he did have like 350,000 subscribers at Mug Club, he would show it. You know what I mean? Lexi T, thank you for the 5. Get the subs.
Stephen's never done. As soon as he said that, I knew we'll never get to a deal. I can't guarantee $30 million a year. I didn't know how I was going to pay for 50. I thought, not that he isn't worth it, but that's a big risk. $120 million is an incalculable risk for a company our size. And again, I'm not saying Stephen isn't worth it. I hope he is. I hope he builds his own business. He'll make a ton of mistakes. He'll find out that he's wrong about a lot of how the business world works. He'll learn and he'll grow because he's a smart, talented guy. And I hope he gets to a place where he's proving me wrong and he's making all that money. But that just was not a deal that the Daily Wire could possibly make. And we'd have to pay it even if he lost all the revenue, or even if he lost enormous chunks of the revenue. It was just an impossible situation. And so Stephen said, we're going to throw this deal out. I'm not even going to mark it up. I'm not going to negotiate it. Start over. Send me a new deal. And because of his talent and because of our friendship, I thought about it for a minute. Talked to my partners about it for a few minutes. And I just realized what I already knew in my heart.
You're thinking of this as these right-wing talking heads make money as a media property. You need to think of this as a political campaign paying for TV ads. They aren't intended to make money. They are there to affect political outcomes. This is just an expense for the right-wing billionaires, just like an expense for a lobbyist or something. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And they do get that ROI, because how else are you going to get people to have maintain such genuine disdain for the working poor without a steady flow of racial agitprop that is like making sure that your focus is on all of these like idiotic fucking nonsensical battles that no one should be fighting. Yeah, it's correct. That's why they pay that kind of money, but it's still unimaginable. Mike,